It is another day we get to discuss what is health, and today we are going to do emotional health dimension. Emotional health is basically the ability of a person to accept and manage their feelings through life challenges and through life changes. One thing that is for sure, as long as your life challenges and changes are part of our life, the power of you being able to bounce back once you've been faced by challenges or problems or opportunities, really depending on how things register in your mind, all this depends on how emotionally healthy you are. You being able to accept yourself as you are with all your flaws, you being able to actually understand that you are not perfect and no one is perfect, you being able to actually know that you do actually have limitations, that is being emotionally healthy. Emotional health also encompasses things like emotional intelligence and also emotional regulations, and we are going to discuss the details of those things in our subsequent episodes. So today we are just going to do an introduction. How can you tell that you are actually emotionally healthy? So the first, I'll call them characters. So the first character of a person who is emotionally healthy, they are actually self-aware. And being self-aware means you actually have your values, you actually have your standards for living, and each time you're faced with a situation, all your emotions and all your decisions are governed by your values and your standards. That means you do not lie to yourself and you do not violate your own values for living, regardless of what you're faced with. The second character of being emotionally healthy is having self-acceptance. As I had reiterated earlier, self-acceptance simply means you accepting yourself as you are. No one is perfect. So everything that you do is based on how you have accepted yourself, with all your great talents and with all your flaws. And whenever you're faced with a challenge, the way you solve anything, it's based on your strength and also your weaknesses, because you know where you're strong and you know where to seek help. Then the third character of someone who is emotionally healthy, they have self-care and self-compassion. Self-care means you knowing that you deserve to be cared for and you deserve to care for yourself, and it's not selfish. And self-compassion means you treating yourself the way you think you deserve. You see, we are so much used of just giving and giving and giving without really taking time to care about yourself. One thing you should remember, you cannot pour from an empty cup. And because you cannot pour from an empty cup, you should always have time for yourself to fill in your cup. Do what you love, care about yourself, be compassionate about yourself. You can only give what you have. So if you do not have care for yourself, if you do not have compassion for yourself, it means chances are even the way you're going to look at other people's lives, they're going to be very cheap and you might think they don't deserve it. Or there are also other people who think other people deserve to live a better life than them. That is so wrong. As we said, you being able to have standards, you being able to accept who you are, and you being able to know that you actually deserve to be cared for, that is being emotionally healthy. Then the fourth character is emotional agility. Emotional agility means you being able to focus your emotions in whatever circumstance you are in, from the negative to the positive. You see, whenever you are faced with any situation, do you look at how bad the situation is, or do you look for what is good from this situation? There are things you can control and there are things you cannot. But whatever happens, there's always something good about it. whatever happens, even the death of a loved one. For example, if you lose, God forbid, but if you lose your child, or if you lose your spouse, or if you lose your parent, you might think, what is good about this? Of course, we are humans. You'll have to go through the process of grieving. But at the end of it all, are you going to be grieving for 1 year? Are you going to be grieving for the rest of your life? That depends with your emotional agility. Because if you're emotionally agile, it means instead of you grieving in a negative way, you can celebrate that person's life. You knew how this person was. You knew what he liked or she liked. You knew what values this person really, really held. And that's how you come to celebrate a life of a loved one. So which brings us to the other character, which is coping. How do you cope when you're faced with problems? Whenever you're faced with any situation, there are two things. The first thing is, can you change the situation? And the second thing is, can you change the way you're going to react to that situation? If you can change the situation, then well and good, that becomes very, very easy. But there are times you're faced with a situation where you cannot change it. For example, death. You cannot resurrect a person who's dead. So what do? So as you said, instead of you focusing on the negative, that is emotionally agility, you focus on the positive. Okay? And so you change the whole picture. You change the way you're going to cope with the death of a loved one. If, for example, you are in a job and you think you have the worst boss, can you change the job? Maybe not, because of how the economy is. It's very difficult to get a job right now. So somehow you'll have to have this boss for some time before you can actually get a new job. So what are you going to do? Are you going to be complaining every single morning and night? Are you going to be crying? Are you going to just hate work? What are you going to do? So you have to change the way you are going to look at things. Coping. So instead of looking at this boss as the worst human being ever, what if you look at it as that he's really trying to sharpen your character, or he's just trying to make you a better person? Or maybe it's true that there are things that you really need to change. Again, that comes to self-awareness and self-acceptance, because you see, no one is perfect. And if someone is your boss, maybe they've been there for some time, and so they know a bit more than you. So instead of you looking at how much this boss is a pain, look at it from a positive perspective. And once you do that, you come to realize everything is going to change. Then of course the person who's emotional health, because they know all these things, they tend to treat others with kindness, and they uphold a high level integrity. People who are emotionally healthy treat others with compassion. They believe everybody deserves care and compassion. Most of the time, these people uphold themselves in a very high esteem, and that's exactly what they tend to give back to people who they come across with. If someone sees themselves as trash, they tend to think everyone around them is trash. But if someone sees themselves as queens or kings, they treat others with that same respect. So the other character of someone who has good emotional health is that they live with purpose. They live intentionally. Everything for them is intentional. So they don't just live life just because the clock is ticking, but they make life happen, and they direct their lives towards a certain goal. And it's for this particular reason why emotional health has been linked with financial health. People who have good financial health are more likely to have good emotional health. And if you have good emotional health, most likely also your financial health will be good. Maybe not where you would want it to be, but it will be much better than someone who has no plan, who has nothing. Then the other character is that they are able to manage their stress very well. Whenever they are faced with very high challenging situation, instead of them throwing a rant or throwing a tantrum, they remember their values, they remember who they are, They try to shift their mind from the negative to the positive. They try to assess the whole thing. So usually people who are emotionally healthy, whenever they are faced with a worse situation, they are extremely calm. And now do not confuse this with suppressing emotions, because if you are suppressing your emotions, you are not emotionally healthy. Actually, one of the features of being emotionally healthy is being able to express yourself, being able to accept your vulnerability, knowing who to express to, knowing the right words to say, but being able to pass how you feel and what your expectations were, is being human. And that is being emotionally healthy. When you're stressed, be able to express yourself, know where to express yourself, and know how to express yourself. Be able to shift your mind from the negative and always focus on the positive. Understand what coping skills you can use. If you can change the situation, the better. If not, you can change the way you look at whatever you're faced with. I really hope this is helpful to you. Thank you so much for taking time to watch this.